friends. I've got another censorship update. So first, CFUV publicly funded radio station said that I violated some new rule and couldn't announce peaceful gatherings of people who are concerned about the direction our so-called democratic government is going with regard to forced jabs and mandates and lockdowns and that sort of thing. So we're not allowed to announce that there are people who station. So then this morning I got up and I got my first strike from YouTube, and they've removed a video, which feels really like a violation, I have to say. And I'd even posted a disclaimer along with the video, and was really careful to try and fly under the YouTube radar, because I know people are censored for all kinds of bizarre things. That they don't actually tell you. They just say, we've removed this, and if you want to appeal it, you can. And if I do, because I gave anybody any permission to do that, that would be another violation. I don't like advertising when I'm listening to videos. I don't like being interrupted with ads. I can handle, I know that content providers make a living off of that, some of them, and so I turn the volume down and I let the video run at the beginning and the end, because I know they don't get paid if you skip through, so I try to at least do that part of the time. But the ads in the middle, so I've just always said no to that, and I'm basically funding this myself. Anyways, so my point being, I'm not on their payroll. I didn't put any title on the video that would indicate that there was content that might be contrary to what we're supposed to be all in lockstep with. So I'm guessing that somebody saw the video and didn't like it, and told on me. So they went to YouTube and said, she did a video that I didn't like, and somebody at YouTube said, oh, we can get rid of that one for you. And so there you go. Now, I don't feel like they're censoring me so much as they're censoring you. So I can talk to these people anytime if I want to, and I get information from them, and sometimes I share information from my life experience with them. And I can do that on my own time, but I don't do that just for me. I do that for you. So what they're basically saying is that you can't be trusted. You can't be trusted to decide what you want to hear. You can't be trusted to listen to stuff and say, that's bullshit. You can't be trusted to say, oh, that's interesting, I'm going to investigate that further. You aren't even allowed to have access to that information. There's providers that I've found where I'm like, okay, some of this is interesting and some of it's not. I wouldn't want to censor them. I just go, okay, well, I can agree with you on that, and I don't agree with that. It's the other stuff, like a family dinner, right? I mean, you don't throw Granny out of the room because you don't agree with what she says. And on that note, I am old enough to be a grandmother. So all this talk about who's killing Granny, so I'm 60 years old. When I was a kid, I would have said, well, I'm 60 and a half. So I'm 60 and a half. And so technically, I was thinking about that today. I'm old enough to be a great-great-grandmother. So if I had a kid when I was 20, and then they had a kid, and then that kid grew up to be 20, and then they had a kid, and then that kid. So I'm old. I'm technically old, right? And my guest, I don't know how old she is, but she has teenagers, so she's at least old enough to be a granny. So who killed us? What's this isolating the elders from society, shutting our mouths? And because we're women, I'm sure, that doesn't offend us in any way. We've never experienced censorship at all in our lives, being born girls. I'm being facetious now, in case you didn't clue into that. So, I've experienced that my whole life. And it's really frustrating, and it's a violation in a sense. And in some ancient cultures, there was a reverence for elders. And you didn't have to agree with everything they had to say. You could find it boring if you wanted, but you listened. You know, you listened because they were old and they had earned the right to be heard, if nothing else. So who's killing Granny here? All right. Other things I want to say, I've made some notes here. Oh, just so you know, I'm going to if people don't like having me around, like I'm not interested in fighting with them and saying, "Oh, please let me stay." Like, okay, I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I've got a couple of interviews left from before I was censored at the radio station that will probably be okay for the YouTube babies who can't handle things that they don't agree with. But other than that, I'm going to shift over to BitChute. I've checked out Rumble. They want a phone number. I don't really want to give anybody a phone number. It's bad enough giving an email. But BitChute seems to be a good place. So they are like YouTube. They're not as user-friendly, but if we collectively leave YouTube over this sort of thing, a lot of content providers are, and that will encourage people to support other channels, and then they hopefully won't sell out to, you know, the big nasty corporations and then become just like them. Like that would be a nightmare. But as long as there are somewhat independent platforms, we need to support them. So rather than supporting through advertising, if you can support a channel and a content provider directly, please do that. Any amount. You know, if everybody chipped in $1 a month for, then we, you know, that would really help us keep this thing going. If you're interested in hearing this stuff, if you're not interested, don't listen, right? But so, like, I'm not afraid to play detective. I find this really interesting times. I'm interested in looking what's happening now, and comparing it with what's happened historically. I spent some time this weekend listening to information from like a museum, you know, so technically, you know, people you can trust to tell you the truth, not making stuff up. And they were talking about what led up to the World War II Holocaust. You know, the Jewish people weren't just selected out. The Jewish doctors and lawyers and business owners, they weren't just torn out of society. Society would never have stood for that. No, they shut down their businesses. They took away their licenses. They rendered them bankrupt and homeless. That took time. That didn't happen overnight. That took time. So first they lose their jobs, and then they lose their medical benefits, and then, you know, and then they become poor and homeless. And then, of course, we all have homeless in our communities, because what would capitalism be without homelessness? And you can see how people think of the homeless. You know, they're dirty and they somehow deserve to be there. We don't ask why they're there. Who are these people? Where did they come from? How did they become homeless? Were they injured on the job? Did they get addicted to opioids as a result of an injury that they couldn't get treated? You know, no, they're just dirty, and who cares what happens to them, right? So no matter how much social housing is built, no matter how much the welfare state tries to pretend they're helping them, the homeless keep coming. And so what's going to happen a year from now, 2 years from now, and people who now their businesses are being shut down, they're losing their licenses to do business in our communities. And so then these communities that become homeless, they become ghettoized. They're considered dirty. There's poor sanitation, and then you blame them for spreading disease, and then you scoop them up. Or you just let them die. I mean, in Canada we have winter. That's pretty much all you need. So I think it's not an exaggeration to consider what has happened in history. Humans have done this to each other forever, at least since the beginning of capitalism and patriarchy. If you look at what happened to the Doukhobors in British Columbia, to the First Nations people across the Americas, to the Japanese on the West Coast who were taken to internment camps and their lands seized from them during World War II. You know, this cycle, it keeps happening. The witch burnings, I mean, the witch burnings went on for like 6 generations, I believe. And those were women. Those were elder women. They were healers, they were herbalists. There was a new medical order coming in that was felt threatened by the women's power. And there was a new religion called Christianity that didn't look fondly upon this idea that you could find God in nature and within yourself. So there's been religious persecutions. I mean, why would you think that this is anything different? Yeah, it's for the greater good. Yeah, they've got lots of information and data and people who dress nicely and get paid lots of money to tell you stuff. And whether that stuff is true or not, where are the fact checkers there? You know, that's a whole other discussion. I would say go listen to Jimmy Dore if you want a good rant on that. My point is that a lot of things have been done for the greater good, right? At the time, people really thought, got to burn these witches, got to burn these women. Can you imagine burning women at the stake or hanging people in the public square? Like, humans have done these things, and they believed that they were doing it for the greater good. In modern times, the bombing of Iraq, over however many years, like millions of people, they destroyed Iraq. That was for the greater good because Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. Well, no, they didn't. And the same people who told you they did are also telling you all kinds of information now that maybe you want to question. The same war mentality about for the greater good that has us hating all the Muslims and fearing the Russians, destroyed Afghanistan, Syria, Libya. I mean, prior to that, there was Vietnam and Cambodia, Guatemala, Honduras. You know, look at what they've been trying to do to Cuba by strangling them just because they're trying to do a different type of economics. They're strangling them for over 60 years with economic sanctions. Humans are horrible. Humans do horrible things in the name of the greater good. Whose greater good? You know? And so if you're sliding into just believing that, you know, I feel sorry for you. I keep trying to remember, like, we're all programmed, right? We're programmed to believe that we have to identify an enemy. It seems like we always have to have something to be hateful towards, somewhere to put our anger, and then we separate that enemy, and then we can dehumanize it, cancel it, destroy it, eliminate it, forget about it, right? It's gone, not my problem anymore. So do the means justify the ends, right? Is what we're doing now, what we're watching happen, what we're cheering on, the closing of businesses and turning away people who don't have their passport, watching all these trained nurses and doctors and everybody, like, who's leaving. Why are they leaving? Why are doctors and nurses willing to leave their jobs rather than go along with this? Is that not a question to be asked? And who's left? Then who's left making all the decisions and doing all the medicine? Are the people who don't ask those questions. Right? For the most part, there are some who are straddling both borders, but this is really scary. And I think we all have the right to ask these questions. And also, also after the businesses are shut down and these people's, you know, their savings have run out and their EI has run out, then what happens? Then they shut down welfare, and then they shut down disability pensions, and they shut down old age pensions if you don't have the right papers. You know, will we be denied housing? Will we be denied any form of social interaction or assistance at all, despite a lifetime of trying to make the world a better place? In my case, in my friend's case, in Robin Tudor's case, she's looking at in Australia. Apparently, they want to remove her ability to even do her job as a naturopath with her clients over the internet. They're talking about removing the rights of Australians to practice their uh, medical businesses, psychology, naturopath, life coach, whatever, over internet, unless they have the required compliance. This is not killing Granny. Are we? Which like? And what do you want? Like for those who are cheering this on, I heard someone say this on Fred Hampton Leftists, which have changed their names now, and he said, ask these people, what is it that you want at the end of this? And what it is it's they want us dead, right? You remove our right and ability to live in society, remove our ability to even get food and to pay for anything, so then we die. So after we're dead, then you'll be able to return to normal. Nice, nice new normal you built there. So if you're cheering on the censorship, the job loss, the locking down, the forced medical experimentation, simply because I want to maintain my bodily autonomy. I do not want you poking me. I don't want you prodding me. I don't want you touching me. I'm a woman in the 21st century. I'm 60 and a half years old, and I don't want you poking me. Like, no means no. Does that mean I should die? When the historical record of these crazy times are written, who were you?